Welcome to One Insight. My name is Litvin. I grew up in London and I now live in LA. And this is a podcast for extraordinary top performers and their coaches. You see, I've coached some of the most successful and talented people on the planet. I can see what most people cannot see, and I dare to say what most people wouldn't dare to say. And what I know about success is that on the other side of it, it can be incredibly lonely. You can feel more of an imposter the more successful you become. And when you're the most interesting person in the room, you're actually in the wrong room. Clients who are more successful, more intelligent, and wealthier than you need your support more than they know and more than you can imagine. I coach around insight. Life looks one way, something happens, and the world looks different, and your entire world changes. It can happen in an instant. And this podcast is called One Insight because a single insight can change everything.
Are you ready to take your message, your business, and your life to the next level?
Want to learn from someone with more than a decade of experience, training tens of thousands of people from all around the world?
Hi, Cliff. This is Pauline from Auckland, New Zealand.
John from Calgary, Alberta.
Amy Porterfield.
Michael Hyatt.
Dan here from Dunedin, New Zealand.
Ray Edwards. Mark Mason.
Mike Stelzner.
Pat from Smart Passive Income.
It's Darren from Melbourne, Australia.
Now is the time to live the life of your dreams and do the work you feel most called to do in the world.
Welcome to the Cliff Ravenscraft Show.
Here's your host, Cliff Ravenscraft.
That's right, my friends. Welcome back to another episode of the Cliff Ravenscraft Show. I am recording this on Tuesday, September 3rd, 2019. I'm currently recording this section of this episode at 12:04 p.m. And those of you who are within my true fan community, you know that in 26 minutes from now, I'm scheduled to have a call that's potentially could change the rest of my life. Oh my gosh, I am so excited. And if you listened to episode number 616 of this podcast, you will know exactly what I'm talking about. And that is the fact that in 26 minutes from now, I will be on a Zoom call with the co-author of the book, The Prosperous Coach, Litvin. And I have this opportunity to invest $100,000 in coaching with him. That is assuming that I'm accepted and also assuming that after speaking with him that I still feel like this is something that I should pursue. Now, initially, I thought that this was a $100,000 investment over the course of 2 years based upon how the original email had read. You can go back and listen to episode 616 if you want to hear the email talking about the Protégé program. That was included in that episode. The more I think about this and the more I'm hearing him, I've heard him say several times that now he gets paid $100,000 a year for his coaching. And so as I'm getting ready to go into this, I'm wondering, is this coaching $100,000 a year with a 2-year commitment? So is this actually a $200,000 investment? Oh, yes. So I won't know that until 25 minutes from right now. But I wanted to share with you a couple of things here before I go into this call. I wanted to share this part of my life with you in a very real, transparent, and authentic way. And first and foremost, I want to say thank you to every one of you who have sent me Voxer messages, emails, text messages from all over the world today, wishing me well, letting me know that this conversation is in your prayers. I'm not going to go out in and name every single one of you because there's so many that, quite frankly, I'd leave somebody out, and I don't want to leave anyone out. But I do want to highlight one person. The person I want to highlight is somebody who has been a client of mine for so many years now. And this is Rick Lindberg from Stockholm, Sweden. And Rick is not a native English speaker, but today he sent me this message on Voxer.
Hello, Clive.
It's 12 o'clock lunchtime here, and according to my notes, in 4 hours, you have a meeting with Rich Litvin. And I just thought I needed to give you a boost, remind you of all the impact you've had and the generous work, the emotional labor you've done for years and years, serving me personally in ways that I am eternally grateful for. And you and I, we work quite differently, but you've always inspired me to keep leveling up, keep putting effort in to become better. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart for that. And I'm excited for you. I can hear the excitement and I want to remind you that you are, per definition, to me, what I think you are to Rich as well. And that is fun and interesting. You have demonstrated again and again your ability to level up, to listen, to become aware, and to change. That's scary work for a lot of people, but you're walking your own talk, and that's highly interesting in my book. And I love your character. Once again, we're different, but I think it's fun to work with you. I have a blast. I'm looking forward to tomorrow's hot seat with you, because you changed my world. You changed my view of the world, and thus behavior follows. That is better. And I love that you dare to challenge me. I love that you see me and recognize me. And I love your style and I love your personality. So thank you for being you, Cliff. And I hope this boosts you with energy. And I do hope that you're slightly nervous, because that's what we need when we level up. So go you. Thanks for inspiring all of us.
Rick, thank you so much for that message. Of course, I've sent him a very personal response on Voxer and stuff like that. And Rick, I meant every single word that I shared with you. So am I a little nervous going into this call where I'm about ready to make the biggest investment of my life? Yeah, a little bit. I'm getting more and more nervous as I get closer. I'm now 21 minutes away from this call with Rich. And I'm just going to read to you real quickly here what I wrote in my journal. I came down to my office this morning and I did a handwritten journal entry. And I don't know how this is going to turn out, but I felt led that I should share this with you and record this before my call today. And here's what I wrote in my journal. I'm just going to read it word for word. This morning, I am preparing myself to speak with Rich Litvin for the first time. I've shared the story leading up to today's call in episode 616 of the Cliff Ravenscraft Show. Part of me is worried/anxious about affording the $100,000 coaching fee. I still don't know if that is $100,000 for the 2-year commitment or $50,000 a year, or if it's $100,000 a year for 2 years. Either way, this would be the single greatest investment I would have made in my personal/professional growth. I am wondering if Rich and I will gel. I don't know why I used the word gel. I mean, I wonder if I'll connect with Rich, if we are compatible. I'm hoping that this focus is not out of seeking some excuse to not invest in myself at this level. I know somewhere inside of me that I am worth this investment. I'm just going to improvise here. By the way, I know deep inside that I am worth this investment. So it's inside of me. I don't know if it's in my mind, if it's in my heart or my soul. So I want you to hear what I meant behind those words. I know that I'm worth this investment. I just don't know if it's my mind that sometimes is disagreeing with that, some thoughts or whatever, but I do know that I'm worth this investment. Okay, now, continuing on. Yes, a part of me is screaming, you don't have the money for this. And that is true for now. That same part of me is saying, you don't even have the extra funds to buy your son a reliable car that is safe for him to drive. And once again, that is true for right now. And then it continues, you don't have the $2,000 a month to pay for Megan's college tuition. And that has been true up until now. And then that same part of me says, are you crazy? You have all of these other expenses / investments that are already stretching you. Those that have been mentioned already and those not mentioned here. If Rich's program is $50,000 a year, that would be $4,167 a month. If he allows you to pay monthly payments without an increased fee for paying monthly. If it's $100,000 a year, that would be $8,333 a month. You can't afford all of that. But here is what I say to that part of myself. I always have plenty of money for all the things I must have. Another way that I've been known to say this in the past, and it's in my affirmation, is I always have plenty of money for all the things I truly want. We could not afford the $62,000 down payment of the home that we live in today on the day that we signed the contract with only a $1,000 deposit, and 9 months to come up with the rest. 9 months later, we had an additional $62,000 after taxes in cash. We also had an additional $38,000 after taxes to furnish the whole house. All of this quote unquote extra income was always available to me. It just wasn't until I made the commitment that I needed it that I began to do the work necessary to earn it. At this point in my journal, I made a decision to go in and look at my gross revenue for my business every single year since I've been in business. In 2008, I made $76,701 gross income. 2009, I made $127,442. 2010, $177,940. 2011, $196,355. 2012, $210,560. 2013, the year we decided to buy the house and that we must have a minimum of $62,000 extra cash after taxes. My business went from 2012 generating $210,560 in 2013 as a result of that decision that we must have that extra income. I went from $210,560 in 2012 to $512,278 in 2013. On top of that, 2014 we made $443,685. That same year, not only did we have the $62,000 after taxes to put the down payment on the house, not only did we have the $38,000 to furnish the entire house after taxes, we sold our own home and we were able to take that entire $20,000 in profit off of the old home, and we went on a 2-week family vacation to Europe where we spent 2 weeks traveling through Scotland, London, Wales, the Isle of Wight, Paris. We went to Disneyland Paris, and we went to Amsterdam. And also, I went to Amersfoort and hung out for a day with my friend Father Roderick von Hogen. Wow, it's incredible what we've been able to accomplish when I think about that. And then not only that, but it also put us in a place financially that in 2015, many people will remember that I took 9 months. The first 9 months of 2015, I put my business on hold and focused all of my time, effort, and energy on my health and fitness journey. That was the year that I went, well, let's just put it this way. It was an incredible time. I want to make sure that I'm on this call about 5 minutes before my call with Rich. So I'm just going to keep going. Anyway, and then because I took 9 months off, get this, my business only made... I only worked 3 months in 2015, and I only made $326,049 that year. I took 9 months off, and I made $326,049. At least more than half of that I would not have made had I not learned what I could do through Podcasting A to Z prior to making the commitment of Podcasting A to Z needing to generate that income. insane. Then in 2016, my income did drop significantly down to $283,535 that year. Still enough for us to get by and live a comfortable life here for the Ravenscrafts. Not necessarily what I think was necessary for me to live the life of a great stewardship in realms of great stewardship. That's a year that I should have generated a significant amount more, put some more money into savings and in retirement and college funds and stuff like that. I didn't do that, but I did what I did. It was the year of identity. I was trying to decide, do I want to give up this podcast Answer Man stuff in that year? And then I did decide to give it up in 2017, which, by the way, 2017, $305,900. That was the year of the big leap. And then get this, in 2017, I shut down my business completely. Shut down 100% of all income streams to completely radically transform my life and to make all of my money from being a coach. And in 2018, made $331,473 in a year of transition. And quite frankly, I go through all of this and I look to see where I'm on track for 2019. And prior to July, well, actually, let me just read from because I continued to write here. This is continuing from my journal. I'm just going to go back to reading from it. Looking over the income numbers for each year of my business, it is very clear to see how my commitment to earning the income that I quote unquote must generate after making a quote unquote commitment to quote unquote invest in building this home, it impacted how I showed up in my business. There is so much I could say about those numbers. It was actually a wonderful exercise to see them and to evaluate them. However, the point is that I know that I can generate income when I make a commitment that I quote unquote must live up to. The same was true for the investment of the No More Mondays cruise in February 2011, which is where I met David Foster, who changed my life and the entire relationship that I have with God. There was a deeper relationship that happened with Dan Miller as a result of that. And I would have never started podcasting A to Z had I not made that commitment. Wow. By default, had I not read The Prosperous Coach and had I not had such a powerful conversation with Michael Hyatt recently about my current priorities, I would still be generating only $12,000 a month of recurring revenue. And I would have likely did a repeat of what happened financially from October 2018 through April 2019. My income would have been the lowest that it had been in years. That means by the end of 2019, this year, my gross revenue would have been the lowest in years. Would I have had more people signed up for Free the Dream 2019 than I do now? Yes, that is for certain. Would I have met my goal of a minimum of 300 attendees this year? I don't know. But I don't care because it is so obvious that that was the wrong goal for me to pursue. Since July 10th, 2019, I have completed a total of 26 90-minute complimentary coaching experiences. I've made a total of 10 proposals adding up to $124,500. 8 of those 10 people said yes immediately, which generated $91,000 in sales since July 10th, 2019. By the way, I'm recording this on September 3rd, 2019. Oh, and several of those 8 people actually proposed to me. They asked me if they could pay me for my coaching or joining my mastermind before I could ask them. By the way, it says here that 2 of those 10 people, so 8 out of 10 said yes immediately. 2 of those 10 that I proposed to said yes as soon as I can come up with the funds. I've got to work it out. So they're working out their issues of how they can afford to work with me, which means that I have a 100% success rate in this new method that I've learned from Rich Litvin, which, by the way, none of that was written there. But here's what it says. While I don't expect to keep going without getting no's, I do know that I found a method of demonstrating the amount of value that I have to offer others And I have proven to myself that if I serve those who can leverage the value that I offer, their lives will be transformed. They will, in turn, transform the lives of others, and everyone in the end will be more wealthy as a result. And wealth is not just in financial wealth, although that is a part of it, but in wealth in every area of life. Since July 10th, my recurring revenue went from $12,000 a month to where now it's already at $20,500 per month. Recurring revenue that I can wake up each morning knowing that's coming in. One client just signed up for a 6-month coaching package for $7,000 paid up front. That is one 90-minute coaching experience per month for 6 months. As a result of that, I've already secured over $27,000 this month for the month of September 2019, and today is only September 3rd. I'm on track to bring my recurring revenue up to $30,000 by the end of 2019, if not by the end of November of this year. And then up to $50,000 per month in the first quarter of 2020, which I expect that my recurring revenue, hopefully, and if all goes well, should be at $50K per month in January of 2020. These are the things that I choose to focus on when that other part of me tries to get me to focus only where I have experienced scarcity in the past. Well, my friends, that's what I wrote in my journal. It is now 12:24 p.m. I am going to jump on this call 5 minutes early and go have my call with Rich. I'll be back and let you know how it all went in just a little bit. Hello there.
Hello, Cliff. Oh, man, I should have known you'd have the most amazing sound ever.
How are you, man?
I'm great. How you doing?
I have never been better. It gets better every single day, my friend.
Great.
I have a question for you before we go any further.
Yeah.
I know that you have asked people for permission to record conversations and share them in podcast episodes. Would it be too much to ask that I have the opportunity to do the same here?
So tell me what you mean by that. You want to record this conversation and then share it with people?
If that's okay for you. And if not, please say no and I'll forget the idea ever came across my mind.
I'm open to it. We record it by default here. We do that not to share this because this is confidential, but so I can share it with you later if there's something valuable from this conversation. So I'm open to this conversation being shared.
Excellent. And I'm a tech guy, so I'm recording right now. So
it shows.
Awesome. So I'm delighted to be here, my friend. How shall we begin?
How'd you know about me, Cliff?
I learned about you the first week in July, the Prosperous coach, and it's transformed my life.
So you didn't waste any time because it's barely the end of August and we're ready in a conversation.
Yeah. Let me give you just real quickly a rundown of what's happened. So let's see here, Ravenscraft Enterprises, and we will go to coaching experiences. Since July 10th, I've done 26 90-minute coaching experiences. I've made 10 proposals so far, totaling $124,500. 8 of the proposals were an instant, immediate yes, generating $91,000 in sales since July 10th. And the other 2 are absolutely working every angle they can work to actually come up with the money so that they can also be a yes. I've received 0 no's yet, which tells me that I actually need to raise my rates. So I pride myself on being the guy who celebrates the no's. I know, and I'm upset that I don't have any because I know that.
Yeah. That's great. Look, if you promise not to tell anybody and nobody ever hears this ever, luckily we're not recording this, right? Then look, between you and me, that's awesome. I love it. You're playing a big game. You're out there serving people. You're giving enough value that people say, I want to have more of this. And one of the ways we show that these days is we say, here's a check. So that's awesome. And I love that you're insightful enough to realize, I'm not getting enough no's right now. That's the bigger game. That shows me I'm really stretching myself and stretching the clients. And that's an aim, that's a goal too. So great job, man.
Thank you. It's a game at this level I would not have played had I not read this book first and foremost, and and I would not be anticipating the game at the level which I anticipate going into 2020 had it not been for the opportunity to even consider making $100,000 investment in myself, when quite frankly, right now, at this very moment in time, I cannot afford it. However, I have a plan.
So tell me this, what would make this an amazing conversation, you and I speaking today?
What would make this an amazing conversation it's funny because I love that question. I've heard you ask that so many times, and I know exactly what the answer is for me. And I just heard it from one of my clients the other day. And that is, by the end of this conversation, I want absolute certainty in my heart that you and I connect well, and that I want you as my coach, and that I'm willing to make this investment. I want certainty and peace in my heart that this is the right decision.
And how do you usually know that you have certainty and peace in your heart?
I just feel it. I do. I know it by considering the options that way before me, which I've obviously, one of the things that I love is that this email that you sent out about the Protégé program, it came out, I think it was 2 weeks ago or something like that. Mm-hmm. I immediately came down. I don't know if you saw my personal video that I sent you, but I sent you a personal video like within an hour of that email going out. And I'm like, okay. And then ever since then, I'm like, okay, now I've got 2 weeks to think about this a lot. And I've already created a podcast episode. It's in just over an hour. It's called, Can I Afford to Invest in Coaching at This Level? And I did an entire podcast interview about how crazy of an idea this is, but it's in alignment with everything I've done in my past. And so to give you an example.
So let me pause you for a second.
Yeah.
Let me pause you. It sounds like you have certainty and peace in your heart.
I do. The only thing that I would be weird about is if you and I have this conversation and we just didn't, and it's weird. I never used this word, but in my journal this morning, it's like, I just want to know if we gel. I've never used that language before in my life, but do we gel with one another? Do I want to actually talk? I mean, Rich sounds kind of cool. I like his British accent, and he's kind of laid back and at peace, and I kind of like that vibe. And I've been listening to a ton of his content. I've been watching a lot, but am I going to get bored with this guy? That's a real question I've had. And I wondered if we got on this call, I'm like, are we going to gel? That's really the only question I had.
I mean, it makes sense. It's chemistry, right? You can meet the dream man, the dream woman. Everything on paper means that they're perfect for you, but something's just not there, then it's not going to be a relationship. And so it's same for coaching, same for any business relationship, let alone personal relationship. I understand. But it's just worth catching, right? Because this is what our clients say. They say what they want, and most coaches dive in there. Oh, he wants certainty and peace. Let me find out what I just caught. No, you sound like a man who already has certainty and peace. So, well, what would be even more amazing than that then?
Well, I guess to get some answers to some of the logistics. So the email is kind of vague. It was just like one blurb, like one really scrunched together paragraph that says Protégé program, access to all my material and all of my programs, and it's direct personal mentorship from me. I can help you start your business, which my business is already, quite frankly, up and running. And we can talk about that at any point in the future if it's ever comes up. But the reality is that it said that this is $100,000 and it's a 2-year commitment. So already I don't know if it's $100,000 for the 2-year commitment, or is it $100,000 a year with a commitment of 2 years? So there's some logistics that I quite frankly don't know what's involved.
Great. And logistics are easy.
Yeah.
In 5 to 7 minutes, I can go through those logistics.
Let's do that real quick. That would be very helpful, and then we'll go from there.
The only reason I pause is because I usually save logistics till last.
Okay. I'm fine with that.
They're usually the least interesting part of the conversation. What's much more interesting is, and I'm not opposed to going there, but let me tell you why I normally come to them last. What's much more interesting, both for me and the person I'm talking to, is What's up? What's up for you that you're considering investing $100,000? Because no one's investing $100,000 in me.
No, I'm investing it in me.
Right. And so what is it that you've got up right now that if I invest, it's not just the money, it's the money, the time, the energy, the focus, the commitment. What is it up for you that you're willing to invest this much of your life in, that $100,000 is just, I'll do whatever it takes to create that money, and when it's ready, I'll have it. What's up for you?
Sure. So here's what's up for me. I started my business in January 2008 with the dream of one day being able to get paid full-time to create products and services where I get paid to have conversations with people and to create content using my voice that create a powerful, positive, and profound impact in the lives of others. I was already doing that as an insurance agent, and I'm like, I wonder what life would be like if I could do this for a living instead. But for whatever reason, I did not have the language of coaching back then. I did not understand the world of coaching in 2008. And I didn't have the belief that people would pay me for something so invisible, as you would call. And so but the thing is I knew is that as an insurance agent in my mom and dad's family-owned business, I didn't have the freedom and flexibility in my schedule to choose to create the content and conversations with people whenever and wherever I wanted. So at least leaving that world behind, I'd have the freedom and flexibility to come up with making money and doing my own schedule. And so what I did is I created a podcast coaching and consulting business and built it to over $500,000 a year business. Through the decade plus that I did that, I trained over 40,000 people at a podcast. And the most successful part of what I was doing was the fact that people were coming to me after they'd already successfully launched their podcast, and they were re-signing up for my $2,000 4-week coaching course, even though they didn't want to talk to me about the technical aspects of podcasting. And I began to realize people would actually pay me to have conversations about the invisible. And in 2016, I deemed that the year of identity crisis, or the year of identity. I had an identity crisis. Not only had I left a guaranteed $1.5 million a year opportunity to own my own insurance agency that's been in the family since 1937, I gave that up to pursue this, made $11,000 my first year in full-time self-employment, and never had more fulfillment in my life than I did then. But then I built that to $500,000, and then I shut that down in September 2017 when I read the book, The Big Leap. You familiar with The Big Leap?
Sure am.
So when I understood Zone of Genius, I realized what my zone of genius was, and I made a commitment to myself that within the next year, I wanted to spend a minimum of 80% of my life, of my working life, inside of my zone of genius, and only 20% in the things that I'm excellent or competent in. The only thing is I actually expedited that and made it happen and made it a reality 3 months later. And I shut down 100% of all of my income related to podcast coaching and consulting and went full on into paid masterminds, paid workshops, and then an annual conference. And I've been successful. I have not lost income. I have not gone into debt since day one. And so I've built this, and now the thing is I made some mistakes over the last year and a half when it comes to my priorities. I had this big vision, this dream, and I still have it, by the way, that one day I'm going to host events like Tony Robbins does in stadiums, and tens of thousands of people are going to come to my event. The only thing is for the last 2 years, I've been trying to force that to happen through live events, and my main source of income and revenue has been paid mastermind groups. And as a result of not focusing on serving those people at the level which I really should be serving them, I was focused on trying to figure out how to market a live event, which I've never done before. And as a result of that, it caused me a lot of financial trouble. I mean, I looked at the math today. Sure, I made $331,000 in income last year, $331,473 in income last year for the business, gross profit. But man, it caused a lot of financial strife as a result of that focus, it being in the wrong place. And so my recurring revenue before I started marketing Free the Dream, my business just to make ends meet for our family, to live the lifestyle that we want, we need a minimum of $20,000 in business revenue every single month consistently. And when I shut down Podcasting A to Z, I said I'm going to start the Next Level Mastermind, 2 groups of 12 people paying $1,000 a piece. And I filled them. Within 90 days, I had 24 people paying $1,000 a month. And then once I did that, I began the marketing of my first ever Free the Dream conference. But when I went to market the Free the Dream, I stopped marketing the Next Level Mastermind. And I stopped focusing on the meetings in between the meetings as much. And I said, hey guys, I hope you don't mind. And of course, everybody's, of course I don't mind. But as a result of a couple things, number one, I'd never had a paid mastermind at $1,000 a month before. And unfortunately, I've learned a lot of things about who not to invite and such of that. And so some people dropped out. And then there were some that, quite frankly, I wasn't giving the amount of care and attention that they desired, or even that I desired to give, because my attention was over here. How do I figure out how to market this conference? And as a result of that, my recurring revenue is dwindling, $16K, $15K, $13K, all the way down to where it got to $12K. And I'm like, that's okay, Cliff, because you're going to make at least $80,000 to $100,000 in profit on Free the Dream 2018. The only thing is Free the Dream 2018 cost us $66,000, and we sold $60,000 in ticket sales. So we lost $6,000 there. And I had month after month after month after month of a deficit. So after Free the Dream last year, I'm averaging 12 to 13K per month recurring revenue, and the need to actually rebuild $38,000 in the hole. And I did. I have the ability to do that. I've literally, there's over 1.5 million people in this world that if you say the name or the topic podcasting, they'll say the name Cliff Ravenscraft. That is a very conservative estimate, by the way. So I have the ability to generate income. But the reality is because of my focus, I put myself into a financial situation. And the thing is I was about ready to do it again this year until I read The Prosperous Coach. And I had a conversation with Michael Hyatt. Have you ever heard of Michael Hyatt?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Close personal friend of mine. He took me out to a steak dinner and he says, Cliff, would you like an outside perspective on your priority of filling a stadium with tens of thousands of people? And I said, I said, quite frankly, I'm afraid to hear what's going to come out of your mouth next, but yes, I need to hear it. And it was a life-changing conversation where I realized that my focus is in I thought that's what I wanted, but what I really want is to go deep with people and have a profound, positive impact in people's lives that has ripple effects. And filling a conference for 2.5 days doesn't afford the same level of impact and influence as a workshop for 3 days in my home. And that pales in comparison to the weekly ongoing doing life with 12, 24, or even 36 people. And everything shifted in an instant. And then I read this book and learned, by the way, I learned how much I despise and hate internet marketing. I really do. It's one of the reasons why I wanted to leave the podcast A to Z business, the podcast, because it's like 6 months of my year, I'm working 40, 50 hours a week to serve and answer questions. And then I spend the other 6 months out of the year trying to get 20 to 30 more people to pay me $2,000 to do it. And then every month I have no clients. I was sick of it. And then I read this book, and I'm already a person of service anyway. Matter of fact, my number one vision and mission in life has always been involved to find a way to provide for my family doing full-time ministry. So I'm all about serving people. And I've grown very confident. Some people would say a little arrogant, but I've grown very confident in my ability to create transformation through conversations with people. And when I read The Prosperous Coach and I began to implement it, it changed my world. And so much so that July 1st, had I not implemented this, I was averaging about 12K, and I had a mindset of scarcity that I didn't realize that I got back into until hindsight. And then what I realized is that, wow, I can do this method, and now my recurring revenue less than 2 months later, I'm at 20,500, and I anticipate my recurring revenue will be 30,000 by the end of next month, and my recurring revenue will be 50,000 by January. And on top of that, I'm going to do I anticipate doing 6 workshops for people in my community, because I've been doing live workshops. People have come all over the world to my house in Northern Kentucky. There's one guy, he's never traveled outside of New Zealand in his life, and he came and spent 2 days in Northern Kentucky for his first trip to the United States. And his life is transformed as a result of it. He's full-time self-employed now. He employs several different employees, and he was wondering if he could actually leave his day job and make it. And today he lives it. So this is what I'm able to do. And so instead of building an online business workshop, I now know that I most want to help people who want to make a living coaching in various different, whether it be executive coaches, health coaches, fitness coaches. I want to help people figure out, and people who, like me, love to talk, as you can tell. They love to talk. They have lots of experience and value to offer people through conversations. And they also hate they hate internet marketing just as much as I do. Seeing everybody as a sales funnel, as a prospect, this, that. But instead, just giving people experiences of the value you offer and then serving everyone without any expectation. I love this. And so I want to do 6 workshops where each workshop, 12 people pay $5,000 a piece to spend 3 days here in my home, where I teach them an intense workshop on how to build a profitable coaching career. And so that's $60,000 6 times next year. Divide that out, that comes to an average of $30,000 per month. 50,000 recurring revenue from mastermind groups, 30,000 average coming per month next year from that. That's 80,000. And then I just need another $36,000 profit off my Free the Dream next year, which is pretty much in line with what's going to happen anyway. And that's a $1 million year next year. So Rich, to answer your question, what do I got going on? That's what I've got going on. And I know that I won't do it unless I make a commitment in myself where I will have the leverage. You're familiar with Tony Robbins' framework of creating leverage, associating massive, immediate, unbearable pain to the idea of not doing something and the immediate pleasure and joy of actually doing something. Investing $100,000 in my own life and having to do what is necessary for me to create that income above and beyond what else I want to do for my family. The idea of investing $100,000 and not doing those things is too painful for me. And that's why I know that I won't shrink back and play life small next year if I have a coach and I'm able to invest at this level.
Thanks for sharing all that, Cliff. Let me tell you what I heard. I heard that you started a business in 2008 at a time when most people were going bust. You took off in a different direction. When you had a lucrative career you could have stayed in, you chose to go in a different direction, go in a direction that probably looked scary, that I imagine a lot of skepticism from everywhere around. And yet over the next decade, you had that really fly, become very successful. Almost 10 years in, you get this insight that you're not actually working in your zone of genius. And there's a price to pay for that. And you caught that really fast and said, I don't want to pay that price anymore. You shut down a business that was making $500,000 a year because it didn't allow you to really fly on the inside, even though you could on the outside. That always fascinates me, the other side of success. People tell you how to get to success. They never tell you what happens, the cost of it, the price you pay. But you were insightful and you said, I want to be paid to have conversations and create content. The 2 things I love to do. And you went off in a different direction. I heard too, you had a vision about filling stadiums, 10,000 people, and a particular conversation with Michael had you realize, I want to question that. My sense is that may not have left completely, but just where you're coming from is what I heard. what I heard too is that you're about three things, from what I hear: intimacy, connection, and transformation.
All three of them.
And my sense is that you've got the numbers down. I mean, you know how to do business. You know, you have the numbers down in a way that I don't. My brain doesn't carry numbers in that way. I have to have people on my team who can do that for me. But you get business. What you want to create is a business where you can make a massive difference to people's lives, transformation, create a sense of deep connection and intimacy, and have the lifestyle that you and your family would love to have.
Yes.
Tell me about your family for a minute.
My wife, Stephanie, and I have been married for 23 years. She is the most incredible wife a man could ever have. In fact, you and I would not be sitting here talking if it were not for her, because she and I started podcasting as a hobby in December 2005. And she had just attended this Bible study where she was encouraged to, the next time your husband invites you to participate in one of his hobbies, you should say yes. And she did that. And it began this thing called podcasting, which, of course, we've been podcasting together since December 2005. We were one of the first 100 podcasters in the world. And we built an audience of hundreds of thousands of people around the world. And we've been podcasting together ever since. And when I started to say, I wonder what life would be like if I could do this for a living instead, I felt guilty for a very long time, even having the thought. But I finally got around to sharing that thought with her. And I then had the freedom to share it with my audience. And then I had these people called entrepreneurs. I'd never heard of these people. And even though that's crazy to think of because my dad owns an insurance agency, I never thought of my dad as being a business owner or an entrepreneur. I was so ingrained in the world of an employee. Anyway, people would say, Cliff, you totally could make a living doing this. And they would tell me they would say, Cliff, I'd jump on a call with you for an hour if you'd like. I'd tell you all the ways you could make a living. And I would hear all of that, and it would sound really exciting. And it's like, oh, that's really great for you, but you have no idea what my life is like. You have no idea what my responsibilities are. But I'd come home and I'd tell my wife all those things that the people told me. And then one day I had this really terrible day after months of terrible days, because I'd gotten to the place where
let me pause you for a second. Let me pause you.
Yep.
I'll tell you why. You're very engaging. It's very easy for me to sit and be engaged by your stories. And there's a place where I don't need the content of the story right now. What I realize is, because it's so engaging, I go on the ride with you. Your eyes are lit up twice in this conversation. Your eyes lit up when you talked about the transformational effect that you have on other people's lives. And your eyes lit up when you talked about Stephanie.
Yeah.
That's enough for me. I like to know what makes people's eyes light up. So let me pause in this moment and check in with you. The reason I scheduled a 30-minute call is it's like a first date, right?
Yep.
And first dates in restaurants where you're going out for 3 hours to have dinner actually aren't a great idea. It's much more fun to say, hey, let's meet in the laundrette while I'm doing my washing. Let's have coffee for 30 minutes. It's a chance to just meet someone in a real way. And here we get to be real and meet one another. And then what's more interesting for me is to say, oh, do we want to speak some more? Do we want to, if we do, what I'm more interested to do is to block out an hour or more of time so I can actually coach you.
Yep.
I can give you a felt body experience of the work that I do. Today, it's been time to connect, me to hear a bit about your story. And I have a distinction. You probably know it if you know enough about me. It's hell yes or hell no. And it's really simple. It makes life easy. So over here on my side, I'd love to have a deeper conversation with you, to know more about what makes you tick, and to know more behind all the logistics. What do you really want to create? You've done extraordinary things already in the last 10 or more years. What's ahead in the next 10 or more? I'm less interested in the clarity of exactly the details, but what would have your eyes light up? That's interesting to me. If you want to have that conversation, I'm a hell yes to that.
I'm a hell yes as well.
Great. then I will invite Laura on my team to schedule a call for us, and we'll dive deep.
Excellent.
And then at that point, we've had an experience of one another, and we can really play a deeper game, or I'll challenge you, or I'll see what's really going on with your thinking. I'll find out what do you want underneath what you say you want. Then at that point, if you want to ask anything you like about logistics or how I work with people, you can ask anything you like.
I'm on board.
Great.
Thank you.
Yeah. Is there anything else you need to ask me in this moment?
Not at all.
Okay.
I look forward to our next call.
Me too, Cliff.
Thank you, Rich.
Bye for now.
Bye. Well, my friends, that's how my call with Rich Litvin went. I wanted to just share that with you. This is an ongoing story and one that I will continue to share the details with you guys in a very authentic and transparent way. I can tell you right now, as far as in that just initial 30-minute conversation, I felt like we gelled. I liked when he had, I just listened to myself as that was happening. He's like, tell me about your wife and your kids. And I go on and as if I'm being podcast interviewed about my story. And I love that, hey, let's pause for a moment. And of course, I love that he was listening for what makes my eyes light up, I guess. That was a very insightful thing to be looking for, body language. It's one of the reasons why I also enjoy doing Zoom video conference calls for my coaching calls, because that does allow me to see the body language that's happening as they're processing things throughout our conversation. So I love that distinction. And I totally got off track of tell me about Stephanie. And I didn't get to the point where I got to say, if it wasn't for Stephanie's the one who said you have to leave your day job. She's the one who put all of this into motion. But I'm sure that may come out in a future session. But it seemed to me that this is an alignment with something that I know that Rich is doing now more, that he did not write about in the book, that he does typically now have opportunities to connect with people through what he calls chats. So he'll do 20, 30-minute chats with people to connect on a little bit of a deeper level to find out whether or not he wants to then invite them into a full-blown coaching experience. So yeah, that's where we're at. I'm excited about this. I don't have any more clarity about the exact logistics, but I don't know that they matter as much as they might. So yeah, this, my friends, is where I'm at. And by the way, as I'm recording this update for you, I am 9 days, 20 hours, 57 minutes, and 2 seconds away from Free the Dream 2019. Super excited about that. Couple things I want to tell you here at the end of this podcast episode. Number one, little personal detail. We added a new member to our family. His name is Leo. My 14-year-old daughter wanted a puppy, and we decided to go ahead and grant that desire, make that dream become a reality. And so we went to pick up a little puppy. I think it's called a Zushan or a Shishan. There are two different names for the breed that we got. You can just do a Google search for teddy bear dog. And he looks like a little teddy bear. He's so cute. Oh my gosh, I haven't owned a dog since I was a teenager. My mom and dad had dogs as I was growing up. And our family, with our kids, we've never had a dog, but now we do. And it's a little Zushan or Shishan little puppy. His name is Leo, and he is incredibly adorable. Absolutely already has a place in my heart. I'm excited about that. Another thing that I want to tell you about is that I have launched a new podcast. That's right, my friends. I think it's like my 35th podcast that I've launched since December 2005. It's a podcast called Cliff's Notes on Profitable Coaching. You can go and find that in your favorite podcast directory. Just do a search for Cliff''S, Cliff's Notes on Profitable Coaching. And there are currently, as of right now, 4 episodes out there. And here's what I will tell you. Episode number 4 is one of the most valuable pieces of content that I've put online in a very long time, specifically if you are somebody who wants to make a living coaching. And oh, by the way, since I've shared my conversation with Rich, you now know a lot more about what my plans are for the year ahead. And if you want to be one of the few people who are able to join us for one of these how to build a profitable coaching career, it's a $5,000 workshop here in our home. If you're interested in that, send me an email, cliff@cliffravenscraft.com, and I will put you on the waiting list to be notified of when those workshops will be offered. So email me right away, because I have no doubt that this is going to be a pretty powerful year for a lot of people who want to make a living doing that work they feel most called to do in the world. If you're like me and you have a desire to take all of your experiences over the past, all the education that you've invested in, all of your successes and failures and everything you've learned from them, all of your experiences, good or bad, everything that's happened, and you want to be able to use your voice to have a powerful and profound and positive impact in the lives of other people and get paid extremely well to do something that brings about transformation, having conversations with people that bring radical transformation to their lives, that radically change the trajectory that they're going on in life. Their life will never be the same as a result of the conversations you have with them, that brings incredible value, and that it brings wealth not just to yourself, but wealth to them and wealth to anyone in their path, in ripple effects that are going to be beyond your wildest imagination. If that's you, reach out to me. Say, Cliff, tell me more about your coaching workshop. Send me an email, cliff@cliffravenscraft.com. For those of you who are coming to Free the Dream Conference 2019 in Franklin, Tennessee, I look forward to seeing you in 9 days, 20 hours, 52 minutes, and 57 seconds from when I'm recording this. And if you haven't purchased a ticket already and you want to come while Free the Dream Conference is still an intimate gathering of the people in this community, then I encourage you to head over to freethedreamconference.com. Until next time, my friends, I encourage you to consistently be devoted to a life of taking everything you do to the next level.
Mindset Answer Man.
For most of human history, it wasn't called coaching, it was called leadership. And it's what I love to do, to coach people, to lead people, and to mess with people's thinking. If you'd like more of this, or if you'd like to learn more about our community of extraordinary top performers, go to richlitvin.com/oneinsight.